Hopefully this works. There we go. All right, great. My goodness. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Goodness, we were having some technical issues, which just makes me feel ridiculous. I feel like all of my students would be laughing at me right now, calling me old. Okay, so if you didn't catch the first part, I saw some in the comments saying maybe things weren't working. So today we're going to be chatting with Emily Voorde. She was my body woman on the trail. I'm excited for you to get to know her. She's an amazing person. And I'm very, very lucky to consider her a friend, but she was also my rock on the campaign trail. Just an incredibly talented person and loving person. I see so many people that we met on the trail actually up in the comments already. So it's great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for spending your time with us. I know it is stressful out there right now, being stuck at home and isolated. I'm definitely an extrovert, so I am missing being out and about. We walked the dogs twice yesterday. Went on very, very long walks. I think Buddy overheated a little bit, but he's excited nonetheless just to get out of the house and working out. It just feels good to be outside and to see other people and wave at neighbors from afar. Remember, social isolation doesn't mean you have to be isolated and alone in your house. You can go outside your house, just got to keep a distance from other people. I love in our neighborhood, they're doing this bear hunt where people are putting teddy bears on their front porches or in their windows. So when little kids walk around the neighborhood, they can go on a bear hunt and count all the bears that they find, which is very, very sweet. And I just like the creativity that people are coming up with to stay sane in this process. I have so many questions from all of you, so many amazing questions to ask Emily and to talk about. There's a lot of pop culture in here. There's a lot about life on the campaign trail. And you all have specific questions for Emily as well. So I just want to jump to bring Emily in.
There we go. Hello.
Emily!
How's it going, friend?
Oh, it's so good to see you.
So good to see you.
I
Oh my
haven't seen
goodness,
you
how
in
do you do
weeks.
this?
I touched my face. Oh my God, what a bad example.
No. Oh gosh, go hand sanitize.
At the bottles. It's so good to see it. You're glowing.
Oh, thank you. I had to find my light. I'm done in a few weeks. How's it going, everybody? This is crazy. How do you talk to this many people all the time?
Yeah, so you and I were chatting before this, and you joked that usually you're the one preparing me for the event, and preparing the questions, which is funny.
I know. I feel a sympathy for you now. This is wild. What a crazy opportunity, but so neat that so many people are tuning in to hear our musings.
Yes. Yeah. I want more people to get to know you because not only did you have a very interesting role in the campaign show, and I feel like you'll have a lot of insights on that, but you're also just an incredible thinker and person. And I think more people should follow you because you post phenomenal content.
Hi, Bar.
Yeah, well, I feel like you just really exemplify like everything that Pete for America was about when it came to like the heart that we put behind the work. So I'm excited to share our time and our stories and our commentary with more people. So first of all, tons of people are asking what a body woman is. So maybe you can explain what you did on the campaign trail and what your role looks like.
Yeah, totally. Great question. I actually, before this role, did not know what a body woman was either, and was so grateful to have Sarah Lena, Pete's body woman, to pave the way for me. So a body woman is with the principal, so in this case, Chasten, kind of anywhere he goes. So it's making sure that we are on schedule, that we are meeting the folks we have to meet, and that we are in the rooms that we have to be in, but also just making sure that you're taken care of and advocated for. So making sure you have the food you need, the water you need, the hand sanitizer you need. I'm very grateful that you got me in a compulsive hand sanitizing habit, which is grim, but good. It's coming in handy now. But yeah, so just kind of with the person all throughout the day, making sure we're on schedule and we're getting things done. So a lot of long days, as you know, and probably a lot can imagine, but such rewarding work. Had the opportunity to meet so many incredible people, many of whom I see in the comments, which is incredible. And is yeah, it's making me emotional. All these great names, folks that we shared this journey with. So yeah, great question though. Great question. Like,
you
go
did
for it.
you did like 5 jobs in one.
Yeah.
Our team was much smaller than Pete's team. We were a small, scrappy but mighty team. And so you filled a lot of roles, and a lot of folks. I have to say, I'm mildly offended by some of these questions. A lot of folks, and I will allow them. A lot of folks wanted to know about. Oh, one was Jack asked, "How are you such a badass all the time?" And also, what is next for you?
Oh my gosh. One, not a badass all the time. No, it was not always pretty, as Chasten knows, but I appreciate the compliment. I'll take the compliment. What is next for me? Honestly, who even knows? I came out of the campaign and thought, I'm going to take a few weeks to kind of process and go visit the people and places that I've been away from over these past 10, 11 months. And then we got thrown into this whirlwind of coronavirus and social distancing. And honestly, it's just been kind of a mind warp. I feel like I'm in a little bit of this kind of purgatory time, which I think probably a lot of people can make sense of, kind of not knowing what's up and what's down. So, so for right now, what I know is I am in South Bend. So grateful to be social distancing alongside or near folks I love here in town. South Bend is my hometown, and so it's good to be back with people I love. From here, I don't know. I know what I care about. I know that advocating for the values that the campaign espoused, that was so important to me. Being in communities that are often overlooked, or talking to voices that are often not heard, that's important to me. Whether that's doing that with children again, or working to support my own community here in South Bend. We'll see. It's something that Campaign Trail opened my eyes up to, and probably something a lot of people unfortunately didn't get the chance to see. Is we visited so many incredible community organizations all over this country that are doing the true work on the ground with whether that be communities with people with disabilities, or homeless communities, or housing insecure communities, or LGBT communities. And it just showed me, like, wow, there is so much meaningful work out there. And if I can be a small part of the type of work so many of those organizations were doing, I'd be grateful. Yeah. So a long answer for not much substance, but for right now, trying to be present in the moment and just navigate this crazy time, like so many. So yeah.
I love. There's going to be so much for you in the future, and I'm excited to be your friend and get to watch what's next for you as well. I see like 1,000 people commenting on my connection. Am I blurry for you too?
You're a little bit blurry for me, yeah.
I got to be honest. On my end, I look great.
Good.
I'm gonna try help. Oh no! Now you. Oh.
Okay, you're better now.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, this person said. Julia said, "Loved meeting you in Kansas City. What is the funniest thing Chasten has said on the trail or while Pete was on stage?" That's kind of a hard thing. And also, this was about the same question somebody else said, and they said, "Hi, Emily." Essentially the same question. And then, "I went to high school with your Aunt Dawn. She's so proud."
Oh, that's so kind. Oh my gosh. Love small world connections.
I feel like this
gosh.
question could tie into something a lot bigger than, like, someone also asked, like, what's the most Veep thing that happened on the trail? So maybe you could just like talk about some of the hilarious moments.
Oh my gosh. I know you tweeted about this at one point, but truly being able to experience the moment that Lin-Manuel Miranda followed you on Twitter was a unique experience. Wasn't exactly something you said, but more of an utterance. And if I recall, you shouted in the car that we were in. The driver slammed on the brakes and was like, "Oh my God!" So that was hilarious. But no, it's so fun when you being backstage with you at Pete events or even at your own events, kind of prepping in the background and just hearing your commentary or ways in which you're proud of Pete or comments about, folks in the audience that you're excited to meet or somebody that you just met. And I don't know, this is the kind of stuff that I'm really hoping to kind of work on processing more over the next few weeks, because there's just a million things. I was really grateful to, I think, be trying to figure this out alongside of you, and you had a world more experience than I did kind of in the campaign sphere, being a public figure even here in South Bend. But kind of both of us just looking at each other and being like, is this normal, or is this what we're supposed to be doing, or what happens next, and just really kind of reading body language and looking at cues and navigating this together. So there's never ever a dull moment.
There's so many. Yeah, I think, once we start really reflecting on them, but I remember very early on in the race when you and I were going to New Hampshire like every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And when the campaign got to the point where like all the days ran into one, there was no such thing as a weekend, and it was very hard to stay on top of the schedule. And you and I were driving from New Hampshire back to Boston Airport, and when we pulled into the airport, I said, "Have you ever been to Boston?" And you were like, "We were here 3 days ago."
Yes, which is a little riff that then we brought to nearly every city we went. Have you been to Indianapolis, or have you been to South Bend? Yep.
So many times we'd be like landing in San Francisco. I'm like,
yep.
Have you ever spent time here? Like, we were here a week ago.
Yep. We were at this exact same terminal. But no, it's true. It's absolutely wild. One thing I did do is download my calendar from the trail, just kind of the top lines, and even looking back now and thinking, holy moly, what were we doing? How did we keep up that energy? And of course, it's hard to believe now, because this could not be more of a polar opposite, the kind of pace we're keeping now. But there's a lot of people to meet and a lot of country to explore. And I'm so proud of not only the places that we were able to visit for the first time, but also the strong relationships that we built, that you built in places like New Hampshire and Iowa. And, it's only after the second or third time that you've been there, and the names of the organizers, and the names of our Super Balls, and they know your favorite ice cream, and they know what our schedule is and where we visited, and it starts to feel like family. Honestly, you get to the point where you've spent more days in New Hampshire than you have in your own house, which is wild. But I don't think I'll ever truly be able to thank those folks enough, our organizers and folks on the ground that made it always feel like home. So I don't know about you, but it's just phenomenal, and something I've really been reflecting on. We're so fortunate to have people that always welcomed us.
We met a lot of great people. We had so many wonderful regulars who started to make it feel a little normal. Coming back to New Hampshire every weekend, you kind of see the same people. But there were also things I feel like we got used to that are very abnormal. Like Pete and I were commenting that this is the first time in our 5 years of being together that we have cooked all 3 meals in a week.
Yes.
And we got so used to not eating, and then just eating random gas station meals. So some folks are probably interested. What are some of our go-tos?
dangerous question.
It's so terrible to think about now because we used to do them like every day.
I know.
And now I'm eating like fruits and vegetables, which is great.
I know. I genuinely, again, there are a lot of contributing factors, but over the past few weeks, I've been like, wow, I feel better. I feel better, a better human. Probably has to do with the sleep and the regular diet, but oh my gosh, we ate well, even if it was poorly. I feel big fan of a little Sabra cup and hummus. Big fan. Yep. If we're on the road and we have to stop through a drive-through, if we have to stop through a drive-through, have to.
We had
always to. Love a McD stop. Always love a Taco Bell. Can't go wrong with a Taco Bell. Always love a Culver's cheese curd. It's like all of the bad things for you. But in that moment when you've got, you know, a 8 to 9 p.m. day, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. day, you know, the willpower is low. The drive-through is calling. It's but it's crazy. Even the other day, filling up my water at the kitchen sink here, I was like, we didn't drink enough water because we were never by like a reliable water source. Like it's crazy that your body acclimates and somehow you make it through. But it's wild. I won't lie. I miss it a little bit. It's probably for the best that we're not eating the way we were. But
yeah,
love a cheese curd.
We had a terrible habit of buying one another comfort foods because if we bought the other person a gift, then we were allowed to imbibe.
Yeah.
So I would get you the Cheetos and you would get me the Patch watermelons.
My team knew that a good plain Cheeto, especially if it's like a late night flight, truly my demise. A good travel Cheeto. So I would like go and, you know, stop in the restroom or go step at the gate or something, and they'd have a bag of Cheetos for me, and I'd be like, no, but then I'd eat all of them. So it's like it's the best kind of love and friendship. But you're right, you get to know
love and friendship
what people need in that moment. So a good Uncrustable occasionally. It's all just good stuff. What you can.
It's fun. I do miss it a little bit. And our late night DQ runs, like can't even do that right now because they're closed.
No, I know.
So let's switch to something else. So you have a disability, and it's very uncommon for a person with a disability to be a body person on a campaign. So I was wondering if you could tell everyone a little bit more about your disability and then what adjusting to life on the campaign was like for you.
Yeah, no, great question. So I have osteogenesis imperfecta, which is a very long name. You can call it OI or brittle bone disease. But essentially, because of a random genetic mutation before I was born, the collagen in my bones isn't created regularly, and so my bones break more easily. So everybody's iteration of OI is a little bit different. There's a little bit of essentially a scale of severity, and so I don't break bones too often. You know, maybe once every few years. Unfortunately, this was not a good year for the bones, which is frustrating at the time. But anyways, and I use a manual wheelchair on a daily basis. So it was actually wild. I was not aware of the unique nature of disabled folks on the campaign trail, at least visibly disabled folks, until I joined the PSA team. And that day I had somebody, a reporter, reach out and say, you know, you're the first person with a visible disability to be hired in the 2020 race. Like, what does that mean? I was like, oh my gosh, I don't, you know, one, I haven't done this yet. And two, I might be the first with a visible disability, but I am certainly standing on the shoulders of giants, of folks that have come before me, and maybe not in this exact role, but have paved the way for me to be here. And so something I've been thinking a lot about is, Chasten, I was so grateful when I started off kind of in an operations role and then transitioned to Chasten's team a few months in. And you sat me down one afternoon and you were so eager to help and eager to support. And that's something I so admire about you is that your first question is like, how can I be of help and what can I do for you? What is it going to look like to travel on the trail? And I said, I can get in the car myself. Somebody puts the chair in, we'll be the first to board the plane, the last to get off the plane. Like, it was very top level stuff. And it wasn't until we were on the trail, right? It's a reality that I experience every day, but I think is just so internalized and ingrained, probably for the worst, just because of how our kind of society and structures are set up. But we would encounter something every single day that was like, oh my gosh, we couldn't, and we began to, be able to plan for it better. But looking back, it was like, oh no, I wasn't at all, trying to be deceitful with this kind of high level list of what modifications I thought I would need. But it was like, I just didn't realize how this world and society makes it really difficult to travel around this country and to be in spaces, especially at the pace that we were keeping. But again, it made me so grateful for the lived values that the PFA espoused and that you brought every day to our working relationship, because I was so self-conscious about it for a long time, after I'm kind of realizing what the implications would be. But you were always willing to lend a hand, and we were going to get through it together. And two, I think the experience just taught me I am in this position that is extremely personally privileged, right? Like, I have a lot of resources and am able to navigate in ways and make the best of the situation. But also, I'm working for a presidential campaign. So, something that, you'd think would be, you'd have all the access in the world and be able to navigate these situations. And it was still difficult. And that wasn't, any pat on my back, but it was an eye-opening experience, thinking there are people every single day in this country that, whether they can't get into a coffee shop or an airline breaks their chair, or they are told that they can't get into a space, they aren't able to to continue on that path. They aren't able to navigate that situation, whether it be because they don't have the relational support, or they don't have the resources, or they don't have the connection. So I think, both personally and kind of in a more meta way, what is my place in this world, and what privileges do I have? It really opened my eyes, and back to the earlier question about what do you see yourself doing? I think part of that is that's part of the non-negotiable is I want to keep opening folks' eyes to the ways in which this world was not built for everyone. And that's not just disabled folks, but kind of anybody that is different is in one way or another running up against barriers. So
I'd love to talk about something specific with you. You mentioned just kind of even your eyes were opened out on the trail of how inaccessible things were. I mean, for me, it was such an eye-opening experience to be working alongside somebody with a disability, because so many of us just go about our daily sort of privileged, able-bodied lives, right? We don't think about all the little things that can stack up. And so often we would go to a restaurant or a cafe, or we wanted to jump into a coffee shop, and then we'd get there and we'd realize it's inaccessible. Mm-hmm. But like, I could go inside and say, hey, my friend is in a chair, do you have a ramp? And then they would bring one out. But what if the person didn't have a friend with them, right? But the thing that surprised me the most on the campaign trail was how terrible airlines are with folks with disabilities. And you put up with so much, even in the 14 months or so that we were on the trail together traveling. I was hoping you could maybe sort of shed a light on that issue and some of the situations that you experienced on the trail, just for everybody else who is completely unaware of even how travel works when you're in a wheelchair, but then sort of how the deck was stacked against you, it seemed, throughout the campaign trail.
Yeah, no, certainly. So kind of logistically, high level, what happens when you're in a chair and you're boarding a plane. You usually check in with the gate agent before you board the plane, and depending on what kind of modifications you need. In my case, I would wheel down the jet bridge, again, first to board, and would be met by it's usually like a third party, somebody that they subcontract with, that operates what they call aisle chairs. So it's a chair that you then transfer into, which is like a very narrow, essentially a board on wheels. And you use that then, and they get you all strapped in, and then they roll you onto the plane. And then they actually, from that moment, take your chair and store it underneath the plane. And then the reverse happens when you land. It's a one, as we learned, so even if you make all of the necessary requests in advance and talk to everybody that you need to talk to, and regardless of airlines, it seems like without fail, you finally get to the gate and they say like, oh, we didn't know you were coming. And oftentimes in a lot less kind language. And so that's one piece of it. It's just the process of it is super laborious. But then, most frustratingly, they take your chair, like I said, once you're on the plane, and you don't see it. And the only evidence you have of how it was treated was what it looks like when it comes back to you on the other end. And unfortunately, in a few small ways, and then in one big way, on the trail, we got off the plane and the chair was not how we had left it. One time, unfortunately, Chasten and I were traveling alone and got off a plane in Dallas, and Chasten can attest the chair was completely inoperable. The entire metal wheel frame, so actually I've got my chair here, this right here was bent on the axle on both wheels. So it's like, what in the world do you have to do to cause that much damage? But the one component of it was blocking the wheels enough that it wouldn't roll. And so they literally had to lift the chair onto a little cart. And thankfully we were going back to South Bend. They got me in a airplane wheelchair and got me on the next flight. But not only in the moment is it ultra humiliating, because there's suddenly just like a lot of attention and kind of not blame, but onus placed on you. But then also my chair was completely broken, and thank goodness we were going back to South Bend, and I'm grateful that I have a backup chair that I keep around. But you can look up online, there are incredible statistics about how this happens to folks every single day all around the country. And again, that don't have those safety nets, that don't have those supports to not only get them through that kind of immediate moment, how are they going to literally get off the plane and leave the airport, let alone what we're going to do from there. But then also just keep moving ahead in their daily lives. That night, actually, I had a talk with my mom. I don't know if she knows the importance of this conversation, but we talked about, like if I wanted to do this, if I wanted to make a point, right? Like if I wanted to show the airlines what an inconvenience this was, then I would wait here at the South Bend airport until they made it right. And at what point do you stand up for yourself and you say, like, this is what I need, this is what every human, like, this should be a basic assumption. And at what point do you have to get on with your life as best as you can, just in order to keep keep the momentum going? And it's breaks my heart every single day, and it happens every single day. I've had wheelchair techs tell me that they've spoken with airlines. This is kind of an ongoing conversation. And an airline recently told my tech, it's less expensive for us to pay for repairs than it is to train our folks. So we're going to just keep going with the status quo. And even if that inconveniences people all around the country, that clearly isn't enough reason to.
But it was more than an inconvenience for you, right?
Right.
For some folks, it's completely debilitating.
Right.
I remember that specific flight. You and I were, we had a very tight connection in Dallas, and we had Google mapped where the closest Wendy's was in the terminal, and we were planning on going.
Crazy and frosty.
And we were gonna get off the plane and run to Wendy's and grab some food for our connecting flight. And then when we got off the plane, the chair was completely inoperable, broken. And if you didn't have someone there with you, you know, I had to go get a wheelchair free because the folks on the ground had no idea what to do.
Right.
Right. And,
Right.
and they were like, oh, maybe you just got to fix it a little bit. And we were like, no, it's completely broken.
Yeah.
And, you know, we got a chair, we got you to the next gate, but, you know, what about folks who don't have the ability to do that, right? And then you were going home to your mom, and I was so in that moment surprised, like, I'm here with my friend, thank God I'm here with my friend, but how many millions of people are, you know, does the system just take advantage of? And luckily you had a backup chair so you could continue to join me on the trail.
Yeah.
But
It's one of those moments where, you know, society loves to talk about how people with disabilities are inspirational, or how they're overcoming boundaries, or breaking down barriers, just in kind of these high platitudes. But the moment that something goes wrong and they're inconvenienced because of my disability or because of our, you know, collective disability, you know, they don't know what to do, and they're, you know, the onus is suddenly on you. That's suddenly on your back to kind of figure out. And you're right. I'm so grateful, because you, I know that you wouldn't have thought twice about helping me, but you in that moment shouldn't have had to do that. But that was just one more example of ways that we learned alongside of each other, and I hope began to open some people's eyes to the fact that this happens, and I hope is something that can change.
Well, I hope we can continue to find ways for you to share your story, especially when it comes to the airline's accountable, because it would infuriate me when we would check in with you, like, is the chair fixed yet? And like, you hadn't heard from a technician, they were sending you to another company, and you had to fill out another form. And it's not like they, you know, compensate you for the inconvenience of your chair for, I think that one was for quite a few months.
Yeah.
Right? And you were lucky enough to have a backup chair that you could come out on the trail in. But for other folks, I mean, that's a broken chair, right? It's like someone taking your legs, right? Get off the plane and they took your legs away, and now you have no idea what to do for a few months until they, you know, when it's convenient for them to fix.
I heard somebody tell it that it's like, you know, somebody walking off a plane and the airline's breaking their shins, and like that's a gnarly
but it's true.
Analogy. But yeah, it's tough, and they, you know, they pat themselves on the back because they are willing to fix the chair, but they don't offer you compensation for lost time, or, you know, if I were to miss work, lost wages, or even, you know, offer a airline voucher usually. Like, it's just wild. And I don't know, it happens every single day to folks, like you said, and it's heartbreaking. But I know folks like Senator Duckworth, who uses the chair, doing a lot right now to try to improve that for people and to hold the airlines more accountable, proactively, right? Not just reactively, not just after the fact. So I'm really hopeful that enough people are hearing that this is happening, and that that work is being done to make it better.
So dealing with airline employees, sometimes infuriating. Sometimes we had phenomenal experiences where we both look at each other like, are we on a cloud today? Like, what's happening, you know? But it's something I really admire about you, how you see the world very positively and figure out ways in which you can contribute in a positive way. You have this quote in your Instagram handle, or maybe it's your Twitter handle, that says, "Don't throw stones, catch them." Can you explain that quote?
Yeah.
Or what it means to you?
Yeah, that's a quote from Brian Stevenson's Just Mercy, which, if you haven't read, is a phenomenal self-isolation read. But so don't throw stones, catch them. So refers to, you know, kind of the biblical image of throwing stones at somebody. So throwing stones at them for being different, or for your perception of their difference. So don't throw stones at somebody. Be the one that catches those stones. Just be the one that sees somebody that's being oppressed, or be someone that's being marginalized, and be the one that diverts those stones, catches those stones, and instead helps them, and instead not only sees their difference, or their disability, or their identity, or their orientation, or whatever it may be, but celebrates that and affirms that. and helps them to find place in the world. So yeah, something I think about a lot, because we can all, you know, in big and small ways, be the stone throwers. It doesn't always necessarily have to be super overt, but just in the ways that we other people and see their differences as reductive instead of additive. So yeah, but thank you. It's one of my favorite quotes, and something I try to channel kind of in all the work I do. It's a good reminder for all of us.
That's why I loved having you around, especially when things got really hard on the campaign trail. I think one of your one of your jobs was to you had this phenomenal ability to know when I was crafting a tweet, and you would just like say from across the car, like, is that for the draft folder?
Yes,
and just always trying to make sure that I was staying positive and reminding me of who I was, and especially when things got really, really loud and hard. It was just such a privilege to have you at my side, because you just had a fantastic way of making sure that we were both staying positive, staying healthy, usually mentally healthy, not necessarily like chicken nugget Cheeto healthy, but you know, self-care, treat yourself.
Face mask at the end of the day never hurt nobody. So that's
put
all.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Sweet Molly from our advanced team asked, how many times did we get Thai food on the trail?
Molly knows exactly how many times. A lot. Thai food is a great option. They have it in nearly every city. I can't say it was always great. We won't name any names, but you know what you're gonna get. You know. Usually, unless they just give you like a bowl of noodles with no sauce, which I think was our final Thai food experience, which is too bad. Went out on that note, but.
So I will embarrass myself. A lot of people submitted a question asking about like my most offensive quirk or like things you didn't like about me, which is awful. But I do remember the time we were like, again, rushing to a plane. We had like 10 minutes to get dinner and almost made the worst choice a human being could ever make, because I was trying to be healthy. Yep. That's when I was trying to make a healthy, a conscious effort to stay healthy. And do you want to tell the rest of the story? Because I will, like, I'll be honest, I'm throwing it out there. I made a mistake.
America, he almost brought salmon onto a plane. Grilled salmon, and I think there was broccoli or some other offensive smelling vegetable. And myself and our chief of staff saw him coming back from the airport restaurant, and we were like, no. That's like number one rule of planes. Nothing against salmon or broccoli, but in a small tube of shared air, it's just not the best idea. So I think
one of the most offensive things I've almost done in my entire life. Yeah. And the funny thing was, I was lamenting when we got to the airport, like, why can't there be a Shake Shack here? Because I love their mushroom burger. Mm-hmm. And I went, got the salmon, brought it to the gate, was scolded by the team, and then 2 gates away, what should there be but a Shake Shack? So it
was all okay.
I went and got Shake Shack. I know that's a waste of food, but it was for the betterment of everyone on the plane that I didn't eat.
We were like, we really are just trying to keep a low profile here. This will be the fastest way to turn some heads.
I know. I think it's important that we humble ourselves and we talk about the mistakes we've made. I've grown. I've learned.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. What do I have left for you? There's so many great questions. A lot of like weird Russian spam accounts just want you to know that you can get a free iPhone 11 Max.
Noted. Great.
You just need to give them your social security number. Okay, let's wrap it up. Anything funny you want? Oh, here's something I did want to talk to you about. Yeah. You were infamous for having cold takes.
Cold takes. Yeah, so this actually wasn't my invention. This is also our chief of staff's test. Instead of a hot take, it's a cold take, but along the same lines, just like something that is countercultural that you believe. So what's a good example? with your like, I just really don't like Taco Bell. Which is like not true. So that's not a good cold take, but something that is like very mainstream, and you're like, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I just
it's gonna be really an unpopular hot take.
Don't like Love Is Blind.
Yeah.
Like I just really don't like it. Like that is the kind of like I just don't like iced coffee. That's actually a true one for me. I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry
too,
because you so often had to get my coffee for me. But
I didn't drink it. You can get I'm not offended by iced coffee. I just don't.
Won't even pick it up.
I won't even look at it. No, but yeah, a cold take though. So yeah, they are good in the moment. So yeah, but something you're like, I just have to get this off my chest. I just have to bounce this against the wall here. No one need agree with me. Here's my cold take.
And it was funny because we would be in the car and then it would be like silent for like 20 minutes. Someone would just be like, cold take. Guacamole's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've been stewing on this and I need someone to know. I just really don't like this. It's very good.
Life. Anything you want to tell folks about life on the trail?
Oh my gosh. It was genuinely, I know the team and I have talked about this since, it was genuinely just as powerful to travel with you at the end as it was at the very beginning. It's something I don't know if you know, but the way in which you captivated rooms, both big and small, in a way that was so incredibly genuine, was phenomenal to me. And we would hear, the same iteration of a stump or the same kind of slew of Q&A, sometimes a few times a day, right? And we would always, on every trip, have a staff group text going, and inevitably somebody would say, well, like, oh, I got goosebumps this time, or like, he's on fire today, or that gave me chills, or we also had where we would look around the room. I loved watching people's faces in the crowds, again, whether we were in big or small rooms, just seeing the way in their body language that they interacted, and saying like, okay, we got the first crier, like we've got the first misty eye in the room. But genuinely, that just comes from the way in which, Chasten, you were just so incredibly genuine in the way that you knew that your words carried weight, and the ways that you would reflect afterwards and say, like, do you think that this hit right? Or do you think that they heard this in the right way? And not in a, how can I craft my language to be, exactly what people want to hear, but are people feeling seen, or are people feeling connected with? And I think that is just so powerful, and something I'm never gonna forget. So those of you that met him in person, I'm sure will know that feeling, that butterflies or that goosebump feeling. But those of you that have yet to meet him, all the more reason to get him back out there one day. So, but I just so personally feel appreciative to have had the opportunity to see the ways in which you made people feel heard and seen across this country. So
it was a phenomenal process, and it was made all the better because I had you at my side. You got to see me at all the highs and all the lows, and I'm so grateful that you were there at my side. And I hope I get you back in the future. Who knows what's in the future, but I hope you're there. At least when all of this is over, we can go on a late night DQ run.
Yes, I would love nothing more. Let's go watch a movie. Chasten and I had a fun little tradition of sometimes catching a movie after a long day on the trail. It's like just some normalcy.
Didn't we go see like an 11 p.m. showing of The Lion King when it?
We were better for it. So
yeah.
But keep it. No.
Okay, let's close out by what are you watching, reading, or making to keep sane in all of this?
Ooh. Okay, watching. I just watched Crip Camp, which if you have not seen it, is phenomenal. A documentary put out by the Obama, co-produced by the Obamas, about the disability rights movement and its origins. Reading, I am reading Brave New World, which is kind of grim and it's probably not the time, but you know, we're just gonna settle into this dystopian feeling. And then I just started a paint by number. My friend Andrea loves these paint by number kits she gets, like adult paint by number, and they're phenomenal. So I've been making those. I've also been re-listening to the Harry Potter audiobooks with my best friend Emily.
Awesome.
So 10 out of 10 would recommend. But okay, what about you? Reading, watching?
That's incredible. Gosh, I mean, everyone's been telling me about this tiger thing. I feel like a grandpa right now. What the kids are talking about this tiger show.
The Tiger Show. It's phenomenal. I've only just started it, but it's like every moment is more wild than the last. So
Great.
100% would recommend.
I can go for that. I watched 1917 last night.
Oh, how was that?
Good. I liked it. I think it's they made a really interesting choice. The whole film makes it feel like it is done in one shot, one continuous.
Oh wow, that's wild.
Yeah, that was great. What else did we watch? We need to get into a new show. We've been rewatching Parks and Rec, so we're in season 6, where like they had the Pawnee Eagleton merger. That's kind of it. I'm not watching a lot. I'm excited to be reading again. But other than that, and I'm trying to make bread. I'm trying to craft bread.
Love that.
But the more I dig into like making sourdough, it's like a whole world of the internet I had no idea existed, and it's so overwhelming that I can't. Like life was too overwhelming for too long that I don't need something that overwhelming in my life.
This overwhelming again. How funny.
Bread. You know.
Just bread.
Well, Emily,
one
I
more
hope we get
show.
to see each other. What's that?
I was going to say one more show, Rec.
Yes.
For nobody else, just for you. Dancing Queen is phenomenal. It's kind of hidden away in Netflix, so you have to dig it out. But
is this
imagine
an ABBA feature?
It's so Alyssa Edwards from RuPaul.
Oh yeah.
Has a kids dance studio in rural Texas.
Oh yeah. I've heard of this.
So it's like RuPaul meets Friday Night Lights meets Cheer. That's what I'm going to leave you with. It's phenomenal.
I'm up for it. I see so many people like commenting, and I felt like I'm not watching a lot of people are commenting shows. And like, yeah, I watched that. Like on the trail, we had terrible sleeping habits where we would like be exhausted after like a 16-hour day, and then we'd get to some like Howard Johnson, and then like stay up for 4 hours watching Netflix.
Yep.
Here, The Politician, so good.
Definitely Anna Versace.
Yeah, I just finished that. Like 2 weeks ago. So good. Incredible. Okay, we've gone on way too long, but like there's no limit. We can do whatever.
Now we're just catching up, and some people happen to be watching.
I feel like it'll like 3 hours later we'll be down to like one viewer.
Yeah.
and we'll just be like talking about the finer points of like matcha green tea.
So good to see you though.
It's great to see you. Let's continue catching up. Thank you for everything you did for Pete for America. We're so grateful. And
for having me. Thanks for the ride.
Oh, you got it. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Bye,
Emily.
everybody.
Bye. Thanks everyone for joining us again today. This was a phenomenal conversation. Emily is just a gem of a human being. And life is a lot better when you got good people and good friends at your side. So thanks for being at my side. Emily, I see so many comments from people we met along the way. It's phenomenal to share all of this with you. We'll be back. I think tomorrow. Got to double confirm with a guest, but we'll be here having another conversation at 3 tomorrow. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're taking care of one another, taking care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to other people, and we'll see you very soon. Bye bye.